I never imagined that the unassuming janitor would hold the key to the billionaire's legacy. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It started like any other, with the usual murmur of footsteps echoing in the grand halls of Stenson Enterprises. But beneath the polished floors and impressive boardrooms, secrets swirled like shadows in the corners. His name was Leo, just your average janitor. He wore a faded uniform, the fabric frayed at the edges, nothing special. Yet there was something about his eyes. They were deep, like dark wells filled with unspoken truths. I'd often catch him lost in thought, mopping the same spot over and over, his hands trembling slightly as he grasped the handle. I remember thinking how tragic it was. Someone so burdened, yet so ordinary. The day of the big gala was electric. The air buzzed with anticipation. The billionaire, Samuel Stenson, was renowned and ruthless. Wealth poured from his fingertips, yet he remained an enigma. Rumors swirled about hidden family ties, a world full of mysteries, and secrets buried beneath the opulence of his empire. A family legacy that cast a long shadow over anyone who dared approach as the guests filed in. Their laughter and clinking glasses masked the tension in the air. I was standing at the corner, my heart racing as I polished the gleaming floor. Suddenly, the lights flickered, plunging the room into temporary darkness. Gasps filled the air. In that moment, every eye turned to Leo. I saw him stiffen, a fleeting glimpse of fear flashing across his face. When the lights returned, something was different. A hush fell over the crowd as a soft thud echoed from the corner where Leo stood. He dropped his mop, hands shaking, face pale. A small, weathered book lay at his feet. The cover had once been red but was now speckled with age, its title worn off. Murmurs swept through the room. What's that? Where did it come from? I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. Leo had never dropped anything before. People started to gather around him, their curiosity piqued. I could see his lips forming words, but no sound came out. The whispers turned to shouts. Everyone wanted to know. For the first time, the janitor became the center of attention. As he bent down, I could swear he hesitated, almost as if he knew the importance of that book. His fingers brushed against it, and I felt the temperature drop, the chill creeping through the crowd like a cold fog. Silence enveloped us all, heavy and foreboding. Then, someone from the crowd laughed harshly. Look at the old man. What does a janitor know about fortune? But Leo stood tall, unshaken. An uncertain fire ignited in his eyes. In that moment, he stepped forward, clutching the book to his chest, and breathed deeply. The tension hung in the air like a pendulum waiting to swing. What was inside that book? What truths lay hidden within its pages? It felt like we were all on the edge of something monumental, something that could change everything we knew about the Stenson legacy. But then Leo spoke. You think you know everything, but you don't know me. And you don't know this. His voice was steady, but I could feel the urgency, a tremor laced within his words. At that moment, the world around us faded. The cheering crowd turned into silhouettes, and all I could see was Leo. The janitor held the key to something beyond his station. Something that could shatter the billionaire's empire or pave the way for something new. I took a step closer, heart in my throat. What was he holding back? Hey! Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The room felt heavier than before, suspended between Leo's revelation and the hard, polished floor beneath our feet. The energy shifted, and whispers transformed into a palpable tension that crept along our skin. I fought against the urge to find comfort in the familiar faces around me, feeling more and more like an outsider in a world full of glittering smiles and expensive suits. Leo stood gripping the worn book, a protective gesture almost like a parent shielding their child from the world's cruelty. His voice broke the spell hanging in the air, each word heavy with meaning. This doesn't belong to any of you. It's more than a book, it's the story of my life. The laughter from a moment earlier had dwindled to silence, and the myriad faces, wealthy men with tailored suits, ladies in diamond-studded gowns, shifted from their initial curiosity to indignation and disbelief. Who was this janitor to assert himself among them? Anger and confusion rippled through the crowd, and I felt like I was caught in the undercurrents of an impending storm. Your story? Someone sneered from the back, and laughter punctuated the tense air. What nonsense is this? You're just a janitor. Just a janitor, Leo echoed. The words dripped with irony, his gaze unwavering. But I know secrets. Secrets that could unravel the Stenson legacy you all cling to so desperately. A murmur spread through the guests, eyes darting between Leo and each other. The word secrets hung there, weighty and foreboding. I could see those who once smiled now flinch as curiosity replaced their former arrogance. The atmosphere crackled, and Leo took a breath, steadying himself. This book contains violence and betrayal, the kind that festers beneath your wealth. It's about a family's darkness starting from the very foundation built by Samuel Stenson. Each word struck like a hammer, echoes reverberating through the room. I winced at the implications. I always suspected the empire was built on more than just calculated business moves. There were shadows lurking behind the opulence, whispers of lives sacrificed for the sake of fortune. But Leo's eyes scanned the crowd, landing on me as if he recognized the silent understanding between us. In that connection, a flicker of kindness sparked. He wasn't here just for his own reckoning. He was offering me a chance to be more than the janitor's shadow. As the guests reacted with indignation and disbelief, I felt a swell of compassion for Leo. I took a small step toward him, yearning to convey my support. This man, after years of cleaning the remnants of their extravagant parties, was unveiling a truth that might break the very foundations of their world. The atmosphere shifted, palpable with anticipation and dread. Then came a voice slicing through this time. It was someone new. An older woman, elegant in stature, her hair silver like threads of moonlight. Leo, what truth are you referring to? Her tone was steady, but her eyes betrayed the anxiety of someone who may have known more than she let on. It's about the betrayal of a brother, a son lost in the weeds of greed, a legacy tainted by secrets that have been hidden away, Leo said, almost tasting each word as it left his lips. He paused, taking a moment, encouraging the crowd to absorb the weight of his revelation. And then a sudden commotion erupted at the back, drawing everyone's gaze. A young woman stumbled through the crowd, her face flushed and panicked. I'm sorry, excuse me, I have to get to Leo. It's urgent. A hush fell over the room, confusion spilling like an uninvited guest. Everyone turned to watch her as she barreled through, desperation etched across her features. My heart raced at the look on her face, a mix of fear and determination. Leo, she shouted, and he turned, eyes widening at her approach. You have to listen. It's about the book. You're in grave danger. They know. They might come for you. We need to go. The warning hit like a sudden thunderclap, reverberating in the silence. The tension skyrocketed, our focus shifting as Leo paled, realization dawning on him. The shadows cast by the Stenson legacy weren't just buried memories, they were threats lurking, ready to extinguish any light that dared illuminate them. Suddenly, just as voices rose in protest and chaos erupted around us, Leo turned to face me, eyes wide. You believed me, didn't you? It was a question that resonated deeper than any question of loyalty. It held a quiet desperation, an unsteady hope that in this moment, as everything tumbled around us, I could be an anchor. A loud crash echoed behind us as a table was overturned, drinks splashing across the floor. Eyes surged with panic, but amidst the chaos, an inexplicable calm coursed through me as I steadied my resolve. We need to find out what's in that book, Leo. It might hold the power to save you and change everything. But before I could reach for him, a dark figure emerged from the crowd, someone I recognized from earlier at the gala. A shadow among the wealthy giants. He moved with calculated precision, eyes locking onto Leo like a predator sensing weakness. "Don't think you can escape the consequences of discovering what you shouldn't," he sneered, chillingly confident as he advanced toward Leo, energy brimming with threat. My heart pounded as I read the tension between them, the balance tipping dangerously. In that moment, the stakes grew exponentially. I knew whatever secrets Leo held were about to ignite a confrontation that would change everything. As the chaos crescendoed and the room began to crumble under the weight of truth revealed, I faced the ultimate question. Would we be able to confront the darkness threatening to swallow Leo? Or would this moment be the last chapter in his silent battle against the forces that sought to keep their legacy protected? The air pulsed with an electric intensity, shadows creeping into every corner of the grand hall, reflecting the turmoil brewing within. The elegant decor seemed suddenly austere, another facade crumbling under scrutiny. As Leo stood his ground, eyes flickering from the dark figure to the thrumming crowd, a deep-seated urge to protect him surged within me. "Stay back," I shouted, voice straining against the tension. The dim lights above cast an eerie glow over the scene, highlighting the texture of fear spreading like a virus. Nobody moved. They were transfixed, spectators at the theater of impending disaster. The figure smirked, an unsettling confidence radiating from him that made my skin crawl. "You really think a filthy janitor can take on the Stenson name? This is bigger than you, Leo. Bigger than anyone here," he hissed, deep disdain dripping from each word. "You've already set off a chain of events that you're not prepared to handle." Leo's jaw clenched, a subtle display of determination beneath the fear flickering in his eyes. He stepped forward bravely, voicing the weight of his newfound purpose. "Maybe I've spent too long sweeping dirt under the rug for a family that doesn't deserve the legacy they uphold. The truth was never meant to be buried." With each proclamation, I found my feet moving instinctively toward him, a protective instinct flaring. With the distance closing between us, the sinister figure narrowed his eyes, attention honing in on our connection. Bursting with desperation, I reached out a hand to Leo's arm, grounding him in this moment where clarity and chaos collided. "Don't let them intimidate you," I urged, my voice low but fierce, filled with the deepest sincerity. "We have to stand together." But just as he looked down at me, an unexpected kindness rippled through the cacophony. An older man, one of the guests I hadn't noticed before, stepped forward. His demeanor was calm, strikingly different from the brewing storm around us. "Enough," he declared, voice echoing authority. "This is not just about you." He pointed toward the dark figure. "It's about the truth that deserves to see the light." Silence followed his words, the air thick with anticipation. The mob of wealthy elite now had to confront not only the janitor's revelations but their own moral decay in the face of an undeniable humanity. "What do you know of truth?" the dark figure spat, eyes especially dark and cold as he regarded the older man disdainfully. "I know enough," the stranger replied coolly, "and if you think you can silence Leo, you underestimate the power of stories. People will always listen to the truth when it's spoken with courage." The response ignited a flicker of strength within me. Hope swept over the crowd like a gentle tide, each face reflecting uncertainty, but also a yearning for authenticity. Could they truly turn from the polished lives of deceit, propelled into the light of accountability? Leo glanced at me with questioning eyes, and in that silent exchange, I recognized a flicker of hope mirrored there. "You believe in me," he stated, a newfound vulnerability surfacing amidst the chaos. "I do," I confirmed with unshakable conviction, gripping his arm tighter. As his pulse began to quicken under my touch, it ignited something deeper in understanding that we were not alone in this fight. Suddenly, without hesitation, Leo stepped forward once more. "I will unveil what has been hidden if it means freeing us from fear. I will not cower in the shadows anymore." His voice reverberated in unison with my heart's steady rhythm. Just then, chaos erupted anew, as the dark figure lunged forward, eyes wild with rage. "You've made a dangerous choice, bookkeeper." He hurled a fist toward Leo, but the older man intercepted with an unexpected quickness that defied his age, blocking the attack and pushing Leo back toward safety. Gasps cascaded like falling glass, tension thickening the air, but amidst the clamor, I heard a quick gasp from the young woman who had rushed in earlier. "Wait," she interrupted, voice trembling but filled with urgency. "There's something you still don't know." All eyes turned toward her, confusion flashing in every expression. "The book, there's more inside it than you realize. It holds connections, people involved. It's dangerous, yes, but it's also a set of names that could bring justice to families affected by your legacy." A hushed reverberation filled the room, stirring both apprehension and intrigue. Leo's gaze met mine, disbelief mingling with lingering hope. "You mean the truth could protect us?" he questioned, the weight of possibility hanging in the air. "Not only protect," she said, tears spilling over as she stepped closer, desperation etched into her features. "Could save lives. We just need to unveil it." But before she could continue, the dark figure repositioned, now looming menacingly, ready to strike. This time, his eyes caught mine, and in that moment, I felt a chill of recognition. His gaze mirrored a personal familiarity, as though our paths had crossed before in a way that snaked through the recesses of my mind, before I could comprehend. He lunged towards the woman. The world slowed as I screamed. No! But the unpredictable chaos of the gala erupted into a cacophony of shattering glass and scrambling bodies. Time folded into dread as I watched. In that painstaking heartbeat, I realized we were in over our heads, teetering dangerously on the brink of a revelation that could alter the course of our lives forever. Leo and I were enmeshed in something more profound than mere secrets. We were linked to legacies, lives, truths that bled into darkness, desperate for the unwavering light. As the room spun into chaos, I could only wonder, who among us would be willing to sacrifice for the truth, and at what cost? The world erupted into disarray, screams mingling with the shattering of glass. The anguish in the air clung to my skin, a physical reminder of the stakes. Time resumed its brutal pace, all at once too fast and yet achingly slow. I could barely breathe. The fragile thread of hope that had knitted itself between Leo and me felt as if it could snap at any second beneath the weight of the chaos unfolding. "Get down," shouted the older man, taking control as he maneuvered defensively between Leo and the dark figure. The chaos swirled like a tempest, bodies collapsing into one another, an ocean of fear crashing against the rocky truths that had been initially unveiled. I caught sight of the young woman as she braced herself against a nearby pillar, fear etched deep into her features, but determination flickered within her wide eyes like a candle refusing to be extinguished. "Stay together." Leo's voice thundered over the din, anchoring me as he reached back to grasp my hand. His palm was warm, a small lifeboat amidst the turbulent sea. "We can't let him divide us." But before I could articulate my commitment, the dark figure, fueled by a desperate anger, lunged at the older man, who countered with unexpected agility. The exchange was rapid, a flurry of fists that spoke of unbridled rage and years of pent-up resentment. Despite the turmoil consuming the hall, all I could focus on was the profound connection unfurling through Leo's grasp. With every drop of adrenaline coursing through the crowd, fleeting glimpses of clarity emerged. Voices rang out in support, rallying behind Leo's declaration of truth. "No more silence," shouted someone from the back. Others echoed the sentiment as the reality of collective rise sparked a flicker of resilience. "Look," the young woman cried, "not just spectators, they're standing with us." Her voice resonated through the madness, igniting a flame of courage. In unison, guests began to join the fray, some shouting back at the dark figure, while others clutched illnesses of despair with newfound fortitude. Murmurs of agreement, cries for justice, the solidarity felt palpably a tide rising against the undercurrents of deception. But in the midst of it all, the dark figure's fury would not be diverted. He swung wildly, and I felt my breath hitch as he sliced through the crowd with alarming precision. In a singular moment, I stumbled backward, the sudden realization of danger propelling me into Leo's side. "We have to go." "No," he yelled, determination wallpapering his features. "We have to confront him, Sarah, not just to save ourselves, but to save everyone he's hurt." Our feet jerked as the crowd started to retreat, fighting against the dark figure's aggression. In that sickening moment, I saw him pull something from his coat, glinting in the dim light like a viper ready to strike. My heart thundered in my chest as he raised it. A shiny, polished surface reflecting the culmination of years of privilege and deception. A weapon? Stop! A voice rang out from behind, raw and defiant. It was the older man, now holding his ground alongside Leo. We refuse to be pawns in your legacy. You've fed off our fear long enough. The dark figure halted momentarily, a flicker of uncertainty piercing through the mask of anger. I could see the wheels turning in his mind, a flicker of vulnerability breaking the artificial bravado. But it was too short. His malice rekindled, and he roared back, a primal display of dominance. In an impulsive surge, I grabbed Leo, pulling him closer yet again as realization flooded over me. We couldn't win this through brute force. It was the truth he feared most. "We need the book," I shouted, the words spilling from me like spilled ink across a blank page. A sudden remedy to our predicament. "Then let's get it," Leo said, a spark igniting in his eyes as he pushed me toward the young woman. "You said it's our way out of this, right? Where is it?" She nodded fervently, panic morphing into clarity as she initially hesitated, taking a battered breath. "In my bag. But we need to get to my sister. It's at the hotel, locked in her safe. It has everything." The dark figure's laughter echoed derisively, a void growing steadily as tension thickened. "You think a book could take down the Stenson name? You're playing with fire, little girl." The confusion sparked a different kind of urgency in me. "We can't let him take that away. It's our only chance to shine a light on all the darkness. Then we have to reach her, no matter what," Leo said, a plan strumming between us even as the atmosphere pulsed violently with anxiety. A collective cheer surged among the crowd. It felt as if every second was a shard of time slowly falling away, layered with the weight of the moment. The dark figure took a menacing step toward us, eyes flaring with rage. "You're too late. I control the truth. You think you can unravel this world I've built?" But as he lunged, the chaos thickened and a sea of bodies swept us forward unknowingly. In an instant, I saw Leo break away, shoving the dark figure back with astonishing fierceness. "We have to go now, Sarah." We sprinted, the cacophony slowly morphing into a rush of sound, the noise of our heartbeats, the unbroken bond between us, the myriad faces blurring into shadows as they waged their own battles for truth. As we barreled through the exit, I felt something cold grasp my arm. Whirling around, I was face to face with him, the dark figure's eyes betraying unfathomable depths of resentment mingled with recognition. "You think you know what you're uncovering?" he whispered, his voice low yet resonant through the chaos. "Be careful what you wish for. The truth doesn't set you free, it shatters everything you've ever known." And as we burst through the door, my breath hitching against the reality of his warning, I felt the unyielding tremor of fate closing in. Darkness loomed ahead, but so did the glimmer of something else. Uncertainty and hope intertwined, a tether intertwining our lives with the life-altering revelations that lay ahead. With the truth almost within grasp, I could only wonder how much would be sacrificed to uncover what had been locked away. What if, in attempting to expose the darkness, we unearthed a devastating secret just waiting to tear us apart? I clenched my teeth against the rising tide of uncertainty. We had crossed a threshold. There was no turning back. The night air hit us like a wave, cold and sharp as we stumbled into the parking lot, leaving the chaos behind. Adrenaline coursed through my veins, pumping hard as I scanned the dimly lit expanse of asphalt for signs of the young woman's sister. My thoughts were a sprawl of fears and possibilities, none of which offered comfort. "Where's the car?" Leo's voice cut through my racing mind. I felt his hand slide across my arm, a grounding presence against the backdrop of turmoil we had just escaped. "Over there." The young woman pointed toward a rusted sedan huddled between two larger vehicles, its paint faded and peeling. There was something fitting about the inconspicuousness of it, a hidden relic in a world obsessed with shiny facades. We approached the car cautiously, its every dent and scratch echoing old stories whispering in foreign tongues. My sister often parks here, the young woman murmured, her voice trailing off into a haunting memory. She works the night shift. She was supposed to be off today, but maybe she's inside, I offered, my optimism strained and wavering. We can't scream fire while the flames engulf the last remnants of truth. Leo's voice was low, thought layered behind the resolve that had anchored him since we began this treacherous escape. We've got to focus. I nodded, though inside I felt the shadow of the dark figure looming larger against the racing hopes of our hearts. I believe in this girl. Let's get that book. We need those truths. We stumbled into the back seat like ghostly apparitions, each dragging the lingering weight of the confrontation with us. I squeezed Leo's hand so tightly that its warmth pulsed with reassurance, the rush against my chest barely staving off the cold grip of doubt as the young woman rifled through bags strewn across the cramped back seat. I tried to steal a moment of peace amidst our tempest. What's your name? I asked, forcing myself to focus on the present. Olivia. She readjusted a tangled scarf around her neck as if to shield herself from more than just the cold. And that bouquet has names, records, evidence. Could dismantle everything. Everything? I breathed, the weight of that word settling into my heartbeat. Everything built on lies. Cash brought to life by shadows of inheritance inherited. The weight of her words hung heavily in the air. It's not just legacy. It's control over lives, a distortion that burrows deep into the soul. Just then, she yanked a worn leather backpack from under the seat, my heart leaping as she fumbled to unzip it. Would the weight of the past transform into the lifeline we needed? Before she could pull it fully out, a loud bang echoed through the parking lot, slicing through the fragile tinges of hope bursting inside me. I felt the air thicken with fear, clawing its way up my throat. What was that? I whispered, but Olivia had already bolted upright, eyes wide, every hint of her earlier determination evaporating in an instant. Oh no! If he followed? Leo echoed, scanning the stillness beyond the windshield. With every heartbeat reverberating in my chest, I shared his dread. The dark figure could descend upon us like a storm at any moment, fed by the calculating rage I had seen earlier. We need to go, I urged, not fully aware of where the urgency stemmed from, but it surged, prompting adrenaline to lead our limbs despite our shock. The depths of night stretched like an infinite maw before us, but Olivia slumped back against the seat, desperation leaking from her eyes. Wait, if we drive away without securing that book in that heartbeat? The wail of sirens pierced the silence, chilling the warm hope fluttering in my chest. An echo of my thoughts from earlier screamed within me. How much sacrifice would this entail? Would it truly expose the rot beneath the gilded veneer of our world, or shatter the very foundation of our faith? As the police lights flickered, painting ghostly patterns across the vast darkness, I felt the weight of time press down upon us, marching relentlessly forward. I couldn't shake the sense that the truth was slipping away, just out of reach, taunting me with the promise of what could be while reminding me of who we were about to become. Quick, we have to make a decision. Leo's voice climbed in urgency, each word igniting panic and resolve alike. That book won't do us any good if we're behind bars. Olivia. A brief locked gaze between us seemed to hold a universe of choices, each one fraught with consequence, each a potential life-altering path. The police made their way closer, sirens wailing like harbingers of our fate. My eyes darted to the horizon, scanning for an escape route, my mind frantically recalibrating that very moment. Olivia's eyes darkened, laden with a thought that emerged like a thundercloud. You don't understand, the danger lies not just with the dark figure. My sister, she's hiding something too, something that ties our fates in blood and bone. The revelation struck. It was an untempered storm unleashed into our fragile bubble of hope, shattering it irrevocably. What lay buried within the books of our pasts? What lines traced our destinies apart, only to converge with deathly precision? Before I could ask, another bang echoed through the air, and a resounding crash followed. It was time for the reckoning. But at what cost? I clutched Leo's hand tighter, feeling the thrum of uncertainty replace any semblance of safety. The night unfurled before us like a dark canvas, and all I could hope was that we had the courage to paint it anew. The metallic tang of fear hung thick in the air as Olivia's revelations settled in our hearts. A hidden truth about her sister's bond with our pursuer. The sirens drew closer, urgency igniting within me like a wildfire. "We need to find that book, Olivia," I said, fighting to maintain an even tone. "But we can't risk being caught. Do you think you two can escape prison with this legacy on your shoulders?" Olivia's voice trembled, each word laced with a growing dread. "Then let's make it a priority." Leo broke in, the steel in his voice a small lantern in the shadowy fog that surrounded us. "If we're going to expose those lies, we need proof." I glanced around, desperately searching for a safeguard, something determining enough to distract us from the march of footsteps edging closer. I couldn't shake the feeling that we were teetering on a precipice, with only the abyss below waiting for the slightest misstep. "Where is it?" I pressed Olivia again, echoing my heartbeat into her eyes. Her gaze darted back to the backpack as she inched it up onto her lap, a burst of renewed urgency sparking in her movements. "It's here." "But I just didn't think." "Olivia," I interrupted, grasping her arm. "We don't have time for doubts. What is it that your sister has? What's hiding within that book?" She hesitated, her face a slideshow of conflict. My heart thumped in staccato rhythm against my ribcage. The subsequent thud of footsteps sounded malign and hasty, the sound of a clock ticking down to something inevitable. "The book holds names that go beyond a mere ledger." Her voice came out barely above a whisper, raw and vulnerable. "It traces the lineage of our family and those who have been against us. My breath hitched. The shadow of the truth loomed heavier now. Every second felt elongated, stretching as if the gravity of the moment might unravel time itself. What secrets lay within the words preserved in those pages? With resolve breaking through the stifling fear, Olivia fished out the book, its cover battered yet regal in its promise of revelation. I absorbed every detail of her, her trembling fingers clutching onto the past like a lifeline. "This is it," she inhaled as if accepting her fate. "But it could perish, too. It's not just names it remembers. It holds every claim, every dark tie." "This is our chance," Leo urged, determination stiffening his shoulders. "This is what we came for." Just then, I caught sight of shadows deepening across the parking lot, the figure looming just outside the reach of the flickering police lights. It was more solid now, an architect of nightmares. My heart sank with the realization. The dark figure wasn't just a specter. It belonged to someone who wielded the power of secrecy like a sharp knife, capable of severing ties with mere inscriptions. "Hide it," I whispered frantically, my voice a knife that sliced through the air for silence. She pressed the book against her chest, glancing at the approaching figures against the chaos that echoed around us. A faint scraping caught my ear. It seemed to emerge from behind us. A glimpse of the janitor's closet had startled to life hard behind the sparse vehicles. "Over there," I pointed without waiting for hesitation or further thought. We glided from the car, Olivia clutching the book tightly as we weaved through the tangles of shadows. My heart raced as we rounded the corner towards safety. I wondered if this could be the spark of hope we needed, a refuge amidst the grasp of despair. "Well, hide in there," Leo said firmly, already pulling the door open just as the air turned electric with sounds of fallacies exploding around us. The voices of authority ricocheted against each wall, snip-snapping in anticipation like vultures. Inside, the janitor's closet was dim and musty. Bristles of cleaning supplies jostled together lifelessly. We squeezed in, the three of us huddling tightly behind a wall of shelves that felt too fragile against the weight of our danger. "What if they find us?" Olivia whispered, her breath sharp and shallow as if the air itself grew thin. "We wait," Leo commanded, his arms crossing protectively around. As we stood together, the world shrank to a pressing stillness. Outside, the voices amplified, each echo delivering a fresh pang of mortality crashing against the resolved walls of our hearts. In the dimmest corners of my mind, I thought of what could be. That bouquet could be our passage to freedom, or it could entrap us forever, binding our fates beyond escaping hands. A sudden crash echoed against the door as it swung against the wall, followed by the indignant curse of a figure I recognized too well. The dark figure had lightened from the shadows, their intentions as sharp as the moonlight now spilling through the doorway. The janitor isn't in the habit of sweeping away evidence. The figure chuckled, a sound tinged with malicious satisfaction. Let's see what other secrets crawl in the darkness. I end that heartbeat. Our sanctuary felt poisoned, and all at once, the walls quaked under the pressure of revelation lingering just beyond. A knife edge reminding us that secrets, like dust, were only brave when cloaked in shadows. Now they were mere flickers of panic, and we were on the verge of unveiling whatever lurked behind the fabric of our intertwined lives, or losing ourselves in the process. That I locked eyes with Leo, fear merging with resolve, ready for whatever storm was about to break upon us next. The air inside the janitor's closet hung heavy, almost stifling, accented with a scent of old cleaning supplies that seemed to cloy at the back of my throat. I felt encased in fear and uncertainty as the figure loomed just outside, and I barely managed to suppress a shiver that rippled through my spine. I glanced at Olivia, who stood beside me, clutching the book as if it were a living creature. Her eyes were wide and glistening, reflecting the fear that glimmered in the corner of my own heart. I could see the conflict wrestling in her mind, the weight of her lineage pressing down on her like a boulder. Leo motioned with a subtle nod towards the tiny sliver of light seeping through the door. "We need to listen," he urged, his voice barely a whisper. "We might learn something." The figure remained outside, their shadow shifting slightly as they peered around, seemingly aware of the tension that crackled in the air. It felt like a scene suspended in time, an unspooling thread of fate that could lead either to the revelation of our past or to an unceremonious end. The confrontation outside continued, laced with a menace that tangled around my thoughts. I strained to hear every word spoken. "They can't hide forever," the figure drawled, disappointment drenching their voice. "The book won't stay lost, and when we find it, it will reveal everything." A chill clawed at my insides, my mind racing as I processed what this meant. What do they want with that book? I could barely articulate the question, but I knew that it was the key to understanding the danger we were thrust into. "They're looking to erase our existence," Olivia murmured, her voice trembling. "What if they uncover our family's history? They'll tie us to our sister's past, and none of us can escape it." "Not really." A sudden spark of anger ignited within me, sweeping away the fear momentarily. "We have to fight against that. We can't let them control our narrative. Whatever legacy it carries, it can't dictate our future." Olivia's gaze flickered towards me. A hint of something unfamiliar, a glimmer of hope or perhaps defiance flickered in her eyes. "You're right. Shoo," Leo hissed, pressing a finger to his lips. "Just listen." The figure outside seemed to pace, each footfall like the countdown of a clock. "This basement holds too many secrets. They won't have the strength to resist when the time comes." They chuckled darkly. "There are more of us, more who know," another voice added, echoing from afar, scrambling my resolve. "This isn't just about one family. It's a thread tangled into a tapestry, and we can't let it be pulled apart." "Are they talking about us?" I asked, heart racing at the implications swirling around. Was it possible that we weren't the only ones caught in this precarious web? "They're hunting our kind," Olivia said, eyes widening with realization. "This goes far beyond us. What if their intentions reach deeper than our family? Are we mere pawns in a greater game?" As the tension wrapped tighter around us, I felt trapped in a moment of despair that threatened to consume me. But that flicker of hope washed over me again, urging me to push against the tide of our fears. "Then we'll be the ones who reclaim our legacy. We'll expose them. Together," I vowed, my voice resolute even as terror festered like a storm cloud in the periphery. Suddenly, the closet door rattled violently, the noise echoing like a slamming of fate against our fragile hearts. "They're getting closer," Leo said, adrenaline sharpening his features. "We need to come up with a plan." I looked at Olivia, who was still gripping the book with a desperate fervor. For a moment, time froze as a heart-gripping question burst forth. "What if your sister isn't just a victim? What if she's I can't?" She interrupted fiercely, shaking her head. "She made choices that led to this. I can't betray her more than I already have." But before I could respond, The door flung open with a deafening crash, the bright light outside swallowing us instantaneously. Shadows spilled into the closet, and my heart raced as I shielded my eyes, taking in the figure silhouetted against the blaring lights. Found you. A smirk danced across the figure's lips, vile, triumphant, unmistakable. All at once, the weight of our secrets, the urgency of our plight, and the gravity of their intentions converged upon us. The battle we'd fought silently within our minds exploded outward, peril tangling with the faintest thread of hope. Grab the book. We're not going down easy, Leo shouted, his voice rising above everything, the embodiment of our newfound resolve. But before we could react, the figure stepped forward, a surprise glimmering in their grasp, and a voice that dripped with honeyed malice whispered, "But you don't even know what you're protecting, do you?" As the figure loomed closer, I took a hesitant step back, the enormity of their presence sending tremors through my spine. The brightness became blinding, swirling with shadows that danced around us like wraiths, whispering secrets meant to remain buried. "What do you mean?" I managed to choke out, my voice thick with dread. The figure chuckled softly, an eerily melodic sound that felt like barbed wire wrapping around my heart. "Oh, sweet child, the book isn't just a relic. It's a map of a lineage that stretches far beyond your imagination. You're holding a key that could unlock worlds you didn't even know existed." Olivia stepped in front of me instinctively, shielding me from the figure's piercing gaze. "And what makes you think we'd ever hand it over to you?" She fired back, her fear seemingly transforming into a fierce defiance. The figure's smile twisted. "Because your sister's sacrifice foreshadowed a destinies entwined with mine. I know you want to break free, but the threads of your fate are too tightly woven into this tapestry. You can't escape her shadow." "Stop," I shouted, my voice trembling with a tempest of emotions. "You don't know what you're talking about. Our past doesn't define us." The figure leaned closer, dropping their voice into a chilling whisper. "But it does, doesn't it? With every choice you make, every turn you take, you mimic her footsteps." As the truth wrapped itself around my heart like ice, I clenched my jaw. I had always felt the weight of our sister's decisions, the way they molded our reality. With every conversation about her, I could feel her shadow eclipsing our lives. But was it really a prison? Or could it be a launching pad? In that heartbeat of uncertainty, Leo reached out and gripped Olivia's wrist gently. "Let's not get lost in their words. We need to focus. We need to know what they're really after." Nodding slowly, I tried to drown out the inner voices that questioned every element of our guarded past. "What do you want from us?" I asked, forcing out the words, desperate to make sense of this chaos. "Ah, such determination." The figure clapped mockingly, each sound echoing in the tight confines of the closet. "Simple, really. I want that book, the key to reclaiming what was lost, a legacy that belongs to a greater cause. Align with me, and you could rise above this quaint little existence. Together, we can reforge the chain of power that ought to have remained unbroken." Picture yourself no longer mere pawns in a game, but the ones holding the board. A flicker of temptation pulsed through me, anger battling with the terrifying allure they presented. Could it be true? There was a part of me that yearned for agency, a chance to unravel our tangled history, not just for survival but to reclaim our narrative. But at what cost? Trusting this figure could lead us deeper into darkness. "Why would we trust you?" Olivia scoffed, her voice regaining a measure of strength. "You're not interested in helping us. You want to control us." The figure's eyes crinkled into a knowing smirk. "And what is it you think you are fighting against? A past full of shadows? Or a future filled with glory? You'll recall dear sister found her way into the shadows. Don't be surprised if they reach out for you, too." Just then, a sudden crashing noise broke the tension. A maintenance worker, oblivious to our plight, barged into the room, pushing a mop across the floor with a tired, apathetic expression. "You kids shouldn't be hiding in here," he muttered dismissively. "Get out before someone thinks you've broken in." That unexpected moment of intrusion, the figure's demeanor shifted, their expression transitioning from smug confidence to hesitant caution. "This isn't over," They spat, quickly retreating into the shadows as if sensing an impending danger. "Run!" Leo shouted as the momentary distraction created a narrow window for our escape. Without a second thought, we surged towards the door, the book still gripped tightly in Olivia's hands. As we burst into the hallway, breathless and trembling, I heard a voice echoing behind us. "You may have escaped today, but your past follows like an unshakable ghost. The game has only just begun." Colliding with brisk air outside, I noticed a group of students milling about, oblivious to the pandemonium we had just escaped. A breathtaking mix of sunlight and fear settled in the pit of my stomach as relief battled with the aura of uncertainty surrounding us. "We need a refuge," Olivia murmured, her eyes scanning the crowd. "Somewhere safe to figure this out." But as we turned to strategize our next move, I noticed a familiar face weaving through the throng, one that I had never anticipated seeing again. My heart dropped as realization sank in. It was someone entrenched in my memories, someone whose presence carried with it fragmented pieces of our shared past. "Sarah," I breathed, gripped by disbelief. My sister's closest friend, whose own fate had been intertwined with ours in ways I had only begun to comprehend, was standing a few feet away. She looked different, hardened, a glaze of something resilient and fierce etched on her features. And as she caught sight of us, the realization set in. "You're still alive," she whispered, an unexpected smile breaking through her usual stoicism, yet tinged with an underlying urgency. "We need to talk." Now, before I could respond, the ground beneath us seemed to shift, and a fleeting thought crept into my mind. This unexpected encounter might lead to salvation, or it could unravel everything we had still yet to secure. Our fight was just beginning. With a rush of adrenaline propelling me forward, I took a step towards Sarah. Her presence, both a comfort and a reminder of the fragile threads connecting our pasts, ignited a flicker of hope within me. Still, that hope danced precariously close to the edge of doubt, heavy with the mystery of her return. What had she endured while we were trapped in our own chaos? "Sarah, what are you doing here?" I stammered, the questions spilling over as Olivia stood beside me, scanning our surroundings for the figure that had threatened to shatter everything we held dear. "It's complicated," she said, fixing her gaze on me with an intensity one had never seen before. "But right now, we need to be discreet. There are eyes everywhere." I glanced around, catching the wary stares of students passing by, unaware of the storm swirling within us. The memory of the figure's chilling words echoed in my mind, a reminder of the battles we hadn't yet fought. "Can we go somewhere private?" Leo asked, his voice steady despite the turmoil swirling in his eyes. "Follow me," Sarah replied, leading us down a narrow path that wound away from the throng, leading to an abandoned courtyard outfitted with rusty benches and overgrown weeds. It felt like a hidden world apart from the chaos, a fragile sanctuary for our jumbled thoughts as we settled on the benches. I studied Sarah's face, searching for answers in the lines etched around her eyes. "How did you find us?" I finally pressed, my heart thudding as a storm of emotions unfolded within me. "I never stopped looking," she said simply. "When everything fell apart after the accident, I promised myself I'd seek the truth. Your sister, she meant a lot to me. I needed to know what really happened and why. The secrets surrounding your family, they go deeper than you realize." My breath caught at the mention of the accident, the night when everything in our lives had altered irrevocably, echoing through the years. That loss had been a wound we bore on our skin, raw and festering, and now Sarah was hinting at a hidden narrative that could rewrite our understanding of it all. "Why didn't you come back sooner?" Olivia interjected, her protective instincts flaring. "After Lily, because I was scared," Sarah cut in, her voice trembling slightly, revealing her vulnerability. "The truths I uncovered," she hesitated. "They could tear apart what little is left of your family, and I didn't want to hurt you more." "But we deserve to know," I pressed, feeling a swell of desperate urgency. If Sarah held pieces of a puzzle we had yet to see, we had to understand. "What do you know?" "Everything I found points to a legacy that exists beyond your sister. There were factions, groups that desired her talents, and they're still searching for you." A chill swept through me as I connected the dots. The figure, with their promises wrapped in shadows, was not just an echo from our past but a sign of threats lurking in the present. "What do you mean?" Leo asked, his brow furrowed in concentration. "What kind of groups?" "Those with power that see your family's legacy as something to harvest rather than honor. Your sister didn't vanish randomly. She became a part of something great-era battle that has carried on, with you as the unwitting next players in this cruel game." My heart sank under the weight of possibility. The strands of destiny were intricately woven, entwining Lily's choices, our family's history, and even Sarah's journey into one harrowing tale as my mind raced. A sudden thought sent a shudder through me. "They won't stop, will they?" I whispered, grappling for the words to voice my fear. "What if they come for us?" Sarah's eyes filled with understanding. "They already are." The fraying edges of our reality threatened to tear open, and with that realization came a heavy silence. In the distance, bell chimes echoed, a stark reminder of the time we had, time that felt finite and fraught with danger. Leo shifted uncomfortably beside me, his brows drawn tight, an unspoken question forming between us. There was an overwhelming need to protect one another, but none of us quite knew how to navigate the treacherous territory that lay ahead. Suddenly, a muffled voice pierced the distance. "Olivia!" The voice was a chilling familiarity, slicing through the tension like glass. It was the figure from before, lurking around the corner of the courtyard, their features cloaked in shadow. "Run!" I yelled, adrenaline shooting through me as we sprang to our feet, fear knitting tightly within our chests. Desperation fueled our retreat, but I couldn't help but feel the tendrils of uncertainty wrapping around my heart. With every step, thoughts tumbled in a whirlwind. What awaited us in the shadows? Would we be able to decipher the truths and discover the power within us? Just before we turned the corner, I caught a glimpse of the figure's piercing gaze, their unyielding resolve sending a chill down my spine, and from the looming darkness, a single sentence echoed in my mind like the tolling of a bell. "You cannot escape what you are destined to become." The dull sound of our footsteps echoed through the alleyway, merging with the rush of apprehension that hung heavily in the air. The unrelenting grip of fear tightened around us, each breath more laborious than the last. I could see the fleeting glances exchanged between Leo, Olivia, and Sarah, the silent acknowledgement of the chaos spiraling around us and the destiny looming ahead. My heart raced, echoing the urgency that pushed us forward, deeper into the unknown. "Where do we go?" I gasped as we rounded yet another corner, desperation clawing at the edges of my thoughts. "We need a sanctuary." "The library," Olivia shouted, her voice imbued with sudden clarity. "It's the last place anyone would look for us." My stomach churned with uncertainty, but the determination in her voice sparked a glimmer of hope. With that, we sprinted toward the weathered stone building, its ancient facade looming like a guardian of secrets. As we rushed through the door, the hushed embrace of the library enveloped us, the scent of aging books merging with the unmistakable fragrance of knowledge reverberating in the air. "Stay quiet," Leo warned, his eyes flickering over our surroundings. For a moment, the stillness cocooned us, as if the walls themselves held their breath in apprehension of what was to come. We gathered in a small alcove, pressed against the shelves, and shared frantic glances. I felt the weight of the book in Olivia's hands, pulsing as if it held a heartbeat of its own, our only connection to the truth, and perhaps the only weapon we had against those determined to silence us. "Is there a way we can figure out how to use the book?" I whispered urgently, looking to Sarah, hoping she would carry the weight of new knowledge. She shook her head solemnly. "We need to decipher its contents. It's not just about names or history, it's about the very fabric of our lives, the choices that have shaped our fates." Olivia's breath quickened. "But what if it turns out our fates are intertwined with those trying to hunt us down? What if my sister's choices are not just the past but their leverage?" My heart sank at the reflection of her own fears materializing before us, the revelation igniting a constellation of dread. "Then we'll rewrite what it means to belong to our legacy," Leo said firmly, his voice steady. "Together we're stronger than the shadows of our past." As the resolve radiated through the grouping of souls, we shifted into action, flipping through the pages of the tome, its worn paper whispers revealing secrets tangled in the threads of ink names, dates, and references to clandestine meetings, enigmatic affiliations standing stark against the backdrop of familial ties. Just as we began to glean the context of our history, a shadow fell across the pages, a sudden chill that swept through the library, causing us to halt. My breath caught as a chilling voice broke the sanctity of our sanctuary. "I hope you enjoy your little game." The darkness crawled into the sacred space, the figure from before emerging, a predator savoring our panic. "But know this, the past will always come back to bite, whether you accept or strive to escape it." "Who are you?" I challenged, my voice quaking with a mixture of defiance and feeling. My heart surged with the impulse to protect the truth, the only light in this engulfing darkness. "Who I am is irrelevant," they replied silkily, stepping closer, their form a juxtaposition of menace striding boldly against our desperation. "What matters is what you'll choose to do with the burden of your bloodline." I felt the tightening grip of history's weight upon us, but as quick as the doubt swelled, a sudden curiosity ignited within. "I will not let you control my fate," I proclaimed, stepping slightly forward. "Fate exists in the folds of choice, but choices born of ignorance will only lead to destruction." The figure hissed, their demeanor shifting as rage flickered beneath the surface, eyes narrowing. At that moment, I recognized a shimmer behind the figure's hollowness, a flicker of uncertainty. Perhaps the darkness was as fractured as we were, hiding insecurities beneath a facade. A surge of warmth rushed through me. By understanding our past, we held the strength to manipulate it. "Were you ever afraid?" I asked, surprising even myself. "Afraid of what your choices would cost? How your existence entwined with someone else's would change everything?" The figure faltered. The confidence wavers for a heartbeat in their expression. "Fear is a choice," they replied, their voice low and almost contemplative, as if the question struck a chord deep within them. "But it's what you do with that fear that transforms it into power. Let us help you," I implored, emotions welling up, my heart racing with the tenuous promise of understanding. "We're all struggling beneath the weight of legacy." The figure straightened, their gaze unrelenting. "And you think your naive idealism can shield you from the echoes of history? Choices beyond your control shape the echoes you hear." Yet my heart remained steadfast, unwavering amidst the shadows dancing on the edge of reason. "We can rewrite those echoes," I insisted. "Face it, alliances based on fear can never be stronger than bonds of authentic understanding." As silence settled, the figure's eyes darkened, shadows creeping in around them, and I felt the air shift as if the world hung on the precipice of choice. With an intense determination radiating through me, I looked at Olivia, Leo, and Sarah. "This is our chance to break the cycle. We have the power to reclaim our narrative with unity." "Together," Olivia added, the fervor of her resolve igniting a firestorm among us. With one final incredulous stare, the figure chuckled coldly, half-belief trapped beneath layers of rage. "You may try, but tread carefully. Fate can be rewritten, but it can also be cruel in its vengeance." As they receded into the shadows of the library, a strange calm settled in the space between uncertainty shadowing our paths, yet teaching us that our strength was forged not in fear, but in unity. In that moment, we became more than just echoes of a past we wished to bury. We were the authors of a new story, one yet unwritten. With a deep inhale, I felt the linger of hope anchoring us as we looked at the blurred edges of history, the shadows that once threatened to consume us merging with the light of possibility. Together, we would not only confront those haunting fragments of our lives, but forge a path toward our destiny with the knowledge that the truth, however painful, would guide us forward. And as I stood there, surrounded by allies turned family, something inside me shifted. Forgiveness blossomed among the fear, and I knew deep in my soul that the final line of our story was yet to be written, and I would charge boldly into the pages of our new narrative, forever unbroken. The day we chose to unite with our past, I understood, was only the beginning of forging an unassailable future. The delicate tethering of hope reminded me that even in the darkest of shadows, we could rise, hearts intertwined, determination fueling the light of destiny, rewriting our legacy one truth at a time.